Hello everyone. In this video we are going to talk about how you install the tabular edition of Analysis Server. So the deal is that during the installation of SQL Server, whether you're installing a brand new instance of SQL Server or adding a feature, you need to launch the SQL Server Installation Center, go to Installation, and click on this link. And again, if SQL Server has been installed previously, then you can go ahead and click on this link and add a feature. If not, during the initial installation of SQL Server, you will be able to click on the tabular option as well. So let's go ahead and start this up. Well, when you do, you'll need to identify the folder. There we go. So browse for the folder. Now, this may be on a USB drive, or you may have downloaded it and put it someplace. I have it under SQL Server Media. In the newer editions, this is recorded in January 2017. In the newer editions of the installation, it will ask you to make a media folder, which is great because that way you can come back and install things later. The folder you want to click on may not be obvious, but it'll be the edition. I strongly recommend people install Developer, so chances are, if you're taking one of my classes, Developer is what you have chosen. So you click on Developer, and that's the folder. You don't need to go any lower. You don't want to be any higher. You want to be right there. Say OK. If you choose a different folder, it'll give you an error message, and you have to navigate to it. And of course, you may have those files in some other location, but the trick is going to the Developer folder level. Now, I'm not going to have Microsoft check for updates right now. And just let it do its thing. Okay, so that's just about wrap it up. Basically, it was checking to make sure I had everything installed. If you want to have your laptop connect to your desktop, or your desktop connect to your laptop for testing, like in a real environment, then having the firewall open so that the traffic can go back and forth is important. Right now, it's just warning us that that's not enabled yet. But for the most part, you're working on it as both the client and the server. Not a big deal. Just leave it alone. Okay, so we go next, and we're not making a new installation. I've already got a couple installations, but I am adding a new component. So I'll come over here and go add new feature. And when it says MS SQL server, that is the default installation. So I'm going to go ahead and say next. And the feature we're going to add is, in this case, the tabular edition of Analysis Server. So let's see here. Wait a second. That's not going to fly. And the reason for this is Analysis Server can be installed in two different modes, but each one is considered a different server. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to go perform a new installation of SQL Server. I'm going to go forward. Developer's fine. Yes, I've already read that before. And I want to choose Analysis Server. The database engine is not on. Reporting services not on. Yeah, these were all there. I'm not removing them. They were just installed as a different installation. The default installation. So I just want Analysis Server, and I already have it in its OLAP mode, but what I want it now in is the tabular mode. And let's see, I'm going to call it tabular. Validation errors, and let's see, review the errors. Already in use, MS SQL. So I want to make this tabular. Next. And running under these accounts is fine. I don't really need any collation or anything like that, so this should be all right. And here's where you make the change. So I want to go ahead and run it in tabular mode. And this is extremely important. Make sure you add the current user. Otherwise, you'll be locked out. You'll have to uninstall and reinstall it. It may not show your full name. That's some weird thing that Microsoft thought would be a good idea. So I'd only show the first 5 letters, but that's perfectly normal. That's still you. Data directories, really let it do its thing, and we're good to go. And that's it. Let it cook. When it's done, you'll be able to access the Tabular edition by going through and using the /tabular to make the connection from like Power BI or Excel, or even through some of the tools like Visual Studio. And of course, the thing you're looking for is this little message here. Things have succeeded. That's pretty cool. So that's it. It's installed, and now with that, I can connect to it from a variety of tools. I'll go ahead and open up the SQL Server data tools as well. Okay, so let's see here. Visual Studio, come back. And I want to connect to the Tabular edition, so Analysis Server, Tabular. And again, the dot will stand in for the name of your machine, so that will work. Now there won't be a whole lot to see here. All it will prove is that you're able to connect. As you can see, there's just not much over here yet. There's never really a whole lot over there. Most of the interaction is done through the development process in Visual Studio. And that looks like this, where you go through and create a project. You choose Analysis Server, and then you choose the Tabular option. And let's see, Workspace Server, Integrated Workspace. And again, localhost is another word for dot. This is just the TCP/IP name. There we go. That works. If you've had installed an earlier version, again, you would have to flip back to this. And as you can see, the interface is really quite austere. So it's kind of not obvious, but you click on this to go through and grab your data from your server. Let's pick a database. And Northwind. And the service account that you use probably does not have access to here. I'm going to go ahead and use my service account. In order for that to work, though, I'm going to have to give access to SQL Server for that particular service account. Now I'll do that by coming over here. Let's see, I need to refresh this. And you can see my Tabular edition has been installed. We'll go over here and we'll notice the account name we're using. And I need to give that particular account, that's the service account, access to the database engine. Okay, so I go down here to security and I make a login. I'm going to go ahead and search for the account I need, paste that name in there, check the names. That is the account, the service account we want to give access to various different databases as a user. So I'll go to user mappings and choose Northwind. And I want them to be able to do select. will happen if I give them data reader access. So database data reader access will give them select in Northwind only. Okay, now let's try this again. Service account, next, next, and we get the same list, customers, and orders. And this time it should go through. And there we go. So now it's copied those over, and I can see that the data's there. Again, you would normally not use either the service account option or the current user option to access the data. You'd actually set up a custom account and use that one. But that's not something we need in a classroom environment. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild, make sure that everything is clean. Rebuild is a little more thorough than build. And then finally I'll deploy. Now the deployment piece is why we had to tell it where the tabular edition was. And again, it can be reconfigured. Got the wrong spot. Yes, I was on the wrong spot. Okay, server. So this is the piece we need. That tells it where to deploy it to. And now I want to come back over here and I take a look. I'll go ahead and refresh this. And you see that I've got my little tabular project in here. And it tells you things like, what connections being used and what tables being used. This is the failed one here. And other things. So still not a whole lot of stuff in there, but certainly more than we had. This is some temporary stuff. Now the way to check that it's going to work is you open up something like Excel. And at that point, you come over here to Data, get External Data, Other Sources, and we want Analysis Server. And from here, I put in that tabular. You don't have to call it tabular, you could have called it something else. But whatever you call it, it's got to match here. And from there, we can get the access tab model. Let's see, don't want the temporary one. It says cube, you can ignore that. And now I can put in like company name and let's see, where's my order stuff? Customer ID, which is not really useful, but what we're going to do is we're going to change it over to. So anyway, we can see the data coming in here. We can see that we're getting it from a tabular structure. We can also see that it needs to be shaped in such a way that the report building is easy. And that's something that the tabular project is all about, shaping the data so that it makes sense for people. And you'll learn more about how you do that. Oops, not inserting, deleting. You learn more about how you do that by going through and looking at the tabular classes and chapters that we're going to look into. Hopefully that made sense of how to get started, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.